This is your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode number 219.
And here's your host, the girl who serves it up straight with a side of crazy, Andrea Owen.
Ass Kickers, welcome to another episode of the Daily Diaries. I am so glad you are here. This is our last one. I know. I am so grateful for, of course, all of you for being here. And thank you for those of you who gave me a shout out on Instagram and came and commented and told me how much that you love them. And a special shout out to Carrie, who let me know that the acoustics actually sound better when I record the episodes from my closet. I forgot to mention that in yesterday's episode in 218. I recorded that one from my closet as well. And I had, a couple more too. I didn't for the first three from this week. And then I got the message from Carrie and she said it did sound better. And so I'm like, all right, so I'll jump in here when I can. I am like sitting on the floor and it is not comfortable. I have the microphone propped up on a big giant shoebox. So not fancy. So when I went to go record the audio version of How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, I know many of you have it on audiobook. It's a company called Soundtracks, and they're in Raleigh, or are they in Durham? I get those two mixed up because they're close to each other, but I think it was in Raleigh, and it was a fancy sound studio, and they let me know that some people have podcasters that come and record their podcast there. And I was like, well, fancy for them. But have you seen my closet? So yeah, I say that because I think it might be a little bit uncomfortable for me to sit for 45 minutes while I'm doing an interview, but who knows? It might absolutely be just fine. I will try it for my next interview and hopefully, because it matters. I know it matters. There have been some podcasts where I've listened to them and I can't with the acoustics, and I can't. We're spoiled now, right? We're spoiled, especially if you listen to NPR or some of the fancier. So thank you for sticking around, even though there's these horrible conditions. But for those of you who are just joining us, this is a special series that I've created. You might want to start on episode 200 of the Daily Diaries. And just thank you for those of you who have stuck with me and listened to these. I know some of you listen to them every morning on your commute or when you're working out. And this is the final episode. And typically on Fridays, the fifth episode of the week, I do a worksheet for you or something for you to actually do the work, because guess what's coming? A lecture from Andrea about doing the work. Don't fast forward. It's just so important. I just was talking to somebody the other day, and she was a client actually, and we had just started, and she was talking about how much, she's that person who's a consumer who always has either a podcast or a self-help audiobook in the background. Always, but never really has truly done the work. And I think that it works until it doesn't, right? That's been the theme. It works until it doesn't. And I invite you to step out of your comfort zone. Yesterday, I was talking to you all about stepping out of your comfort zone. This whole thing has been about stepping out of your comfort zone. That's what personal development is. So if you're not actually implementing any of the work, then what are you actually doing? You're collecting things. You're collecting tools. You're collecting personal development ideas and theories. And maybe you have conversations with people at dinner parties about it. But your life really isn't changing. And I know what that's like. I so know what that's like. I have done that for so long. And personally, I'm not saying that this is your experience, but in my experience, I was still waiting. A few things were happening. I was still waiting for other people to change. I was hoping that was the answer, because I was not ready to look at my own stuff and take responsibility and actually do the work. So I was hoping other people would change. I was an expert at knowing what they needed to do to change. I could have written a book 20 years ago about other people needing to change and what they needed to do. But I was unwilling at the time to look at my own stuff. My therapist had pointed things out, and I was like, I don't know about that. My therapist was the first person who pointed out that I had issues with control. She was the first person who pointed out that I was tolerating things that I did not need to be tolerating, and I was complaining about them. She was the person who pointed out that I had issues with codependency. And she was also the person that had pointed out that I had anger issues that were unprocessed and I had not expressed them or done anything with them. And so, gotta love that woman. She's retired now. She was my therapist for so long, Christine. And yeah, is anybody raising their hand out there? And this is not at all to make you feel bad or shame you into it. That is not my intention whatsoever, but I am calling it out. And if you are an avid listener to this podcast, then I know that you value having a fulfilling life and doing the work. And I feel like I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't say something about it, if I didn't say something. And I honestly haven't thought about it until more recently, like just how many people are not actually doing the work. And so I'm also a huge advocate of turtle steps because sometimes baby steps can feel too big. And it does not have to be this massive undertaking of like excavating your inner child stuff or dealing with your trauma, which by all means I think is important, and go and do that with a therapist that specializes in that. But I do think that you can take small turtle steps. And one of those turtle steps is doing these worksheets that we have created for you. I wasn't going to say me because someone on my team makes it. Thank you, Darlene. And we do this to help you. And I hope that you can download these worksheets and do the work. And what the point of it is my hope for you that the win is that you can answer these questions, and it helps you gain awareness. It allows you to get to know yourself better. All right, lecture over. So on Monday, I told you the gut-wrenching story of a friendship I had that had fallen apart and had recently come back together, and all of the feelings I had around that I shared with you. On Tuesday was a story about my daughter and the baby bunny videos and how they made her absolutely weep and how amazing it was to watch her and how grateful I was that she allowed me to do it with her and the lessons around that. And then on Wednesday was about the ladybug infestation in my office, which is still going on. It's actually worse today. Oh my goodness. And watching what seems like their instincts to get outside, even though it's not working for them. And I have some questions for you in that worksheet if you might be doing that in your own life. And then on Thursday, I told you a story about ego, about feeling like a failure for a few seconds, and about perspective. It's all wrapped up into one short story. So many lessons. And when you download the worksheet, feel free to answer all the questions or pick the ones that are feeling really present for your life. Don't feel like you have to do them all just to check off the boxes. I would rather you just felt like if one of the episodes this week really kicked your ass, then I invite you just to focus on the questions that are surrounding that. That's amazing. That's taking turtle steps. That's doing the work. Again, these worksheets are for you to gain awareness so you can see what you might need to work on. So that worksheet, you can find it over at yourkickasslife.com/219. That's where always the show notes are for every episode. It's yourkickasslife / the number of the podcast. So this one's at 219, and look for the yellow button. You can click to download the worksheet. And then I want to quickly ask you, I talked about this yesterday. If you are interested in, I have not set an official date yet. I don't have any information on my website about it. Right now, I'm just kind of like trying to get a feel for if anybody's interested or not. I'm thinking about doing a retreat. I'm heavily leaning towards, I'm not just like tossing it around. I've already looked at spaces and reached out to some private chefs. I am heavily leaning towards doing a retreat in probably early August, because I know end of August is when back to school happens. So early August this summer to do the Daring Way work, which is the work I'm certified in of Dr. Brene Brown and her massive research on shame, vulnerability, connection, courage. I've been doing it privately with clients over the course of the last 3+ years, taken many, many women through it. And this work is incredible to do privately as well as in a group. And under my guidelines, I have to do it as a facilitator. I have to do it in person. And Oh my gosh, the work is incredible. Anyway, I will go off on a tangent about that, and I don't need to. So yourkickasslife.com/retreat. This does not, if you sign up, it does not obligate you for anything. It just gives me a feel of who would be interested. And then when I do open applications, I'll shoot you an email so you can take a better look at it, look at the dates and the logistics and the costs and everything and see if it is right for you. It would just be a weekend because I know that y'all have jobs, right? Many of you have kids and lives and all of these things that you can't leave behind, for an entire week and come. So that's why I'm creating it this way. It would be a half day Friday, all day Saturday, half day Sunday. And I'd love for you to think about joining us. yourkickasslife.com/retreat. And there is no podcast episode next week. Myself and my team are taking a week off. And so no podcast on March 7th. But the following week, the 14th, we are back with an all new episode. My dear friend who I mentioned yesterday on the podcast, Barry Tessler, is here. We're talking about money. Eee! So until then, ass kickers, I will see you out in cyberspace. Bye-bye.